A packed ship carrying many immigrant passengers suddenly disappears mysteriously in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But surprisingly, after 4 months, the same ship suddenly reappears on the surface of the sea and sends a message to another immigrant ship, Belarus, asking for help. As soon as the message, music, arrives, the captain of that ship immediately changes course and heads toward the given location. When they arrive there, inside the ship, they find a small boy holding a mysterious pyramid. The story begins on April 17, 1899. A ship named Prometheus, filled with immigrants, was traveling across the Atlantic Ocean. Suddenly, it loses contact with land and disappears as if it never existed. After that, no trace of it is found. 4 months later, when people have almost forgotten the incident, another ship, Belarus, traveling from London to New York, passes through the same region of the ocean where Prometheus disappeared. They have no idea that music, this very decision, is about to become a terrible disaster for them. At that time, society had a huge divide between rich and poor. Poor people worked extremely hard in the lower boiler rooms just to afford tickets, while wealthy passengers comfortably sat in luxurious restaurants upstairs, enjoying delicious food. Some passengers belonged to England's royal families, while others were hiding their music true identities. For example, a foreign woman who pretended to be a Japanese singer. But they all shared one thing in common. Everyone wanted to reach America quickly to start a new life and identity, music. Every person was hiding some secret. One day, while all the rich passengers were peacefully eating and dreaming of America, suddenly a poor man enters the restaurant. Very politely, he asks if there is a doctor there because his sister, who is 7 months pregnant, is in severe pain and her condition has become critical. The man kneels before everyone begging for help, but the wealthy people behave as if they heard nothing. They do not care at all about a poor person's life. Seeing all this, a woman named Mora follows him to see what is going on. When she reaches downstairs, she sees a pregnant woman writhing in pain. Using a glass, Mora examines her and realizes that the baby's umbilical cord is wrapped around its neck. She says she will try to reposition the baby her own way, but the woman will have to endure some pain. A little girl explains this to everyone. Then, before everyone's eyes, Mora changes the baby's position with her hands, and gradually the woman's pain starts decreasing. The man who asked for help thanks Mora. As Mara washes her hands and prepares to leave, the same little girl approaches her and says she wants to become a doctor like Mora when she grows up. Then she asks if Mora has children of her own. Hearing this, strange memories suddenly flash through Mora's mind. She becomes frightened and immediately leaves. Meanwhile, the ship's captain receives a strange distress signal. According to the coordinates, the location is about 7 hours away. The captain wonders if it could be the same ship that disappeared 4 months ago because both ships belong to the same company. He decides they should go investigate. As soon as the ship changes direction, the passengers notice it, and fear becomes visible on many faces. They think the ship is turning back. It seems everyone is running from something. Mora also goes to the captain and directly questions him. Then the captain, Music, tells her the full story of the disappearance of the Prometheus, and says the signal they just received is most likely from that very ship. Mora asks whether anyone on that ship could still be alive. The captain says the chances are very low, but since a signal was received, some people might still be alive. Mora leaves, and as soon as she goes, the captain takes out a strange envelope from his drawer. It has mysterious symbols on it, and the sender's name is Ike. On the back is written, "What is lost will be found one day." A little later, the captain gathers all the first-class passengers. He informs them that they are heading toward the missing ship, so everyone needs to know. Some people are unhappy with the decision, but nobody listens to them. According to the captain, 10,423 people were aboard the Prometheus. If a signal has come, it means some of them may still be alive and need saving. With this, the ship's speed is increased, and after a few hours, another ship becomes visible in the distant sea. It truly is the Prometheus. Suddenly, a bright light rises into the sky, and seeing the deserted ship fills everyone's hearts with strange fear. The captain's assistant advises him to turn back. He says they should just send the location to the company, and the company can handle it. But the captain refuses. He decides some people should first go there themselves to inspect the situation. Maura immediately volunteers, saying she is a doctor and may be needed music. For caution, the captain also takes along a priest named Ramiro because stories of ghost ships at sea have always existed. Then everyone boards a small boat and approaches the Prometheus. Music. Strangely, the captain shouts loudly, but nobody responds. The entire ship is so silent that the fear only grows stronger. Finally, to uncover the truth, everyone climbs aboard using a ladder. As soon as they enter, they see destruction and ruin everywhere. It feels as though no one has been alive there for a very long time. Slowly, fear settles into everyone's hearts. While searching, the captain finds a piece of cloth near his feet. He picks it up and examines it carefully. Strange symbols are drawn on it. Seeing it triggers some memory in him, and he immediately hides it. Maura asks what happened, but he says nothing. After this, everyone reaches the control room, and what they see there shocks them: music. The machine used to send signals has long been broken. So the question arises, if the machine is broken, how did the signal come? Was it the work of a dead person's spirit? Fear becomes clearly visible on everyone's faces. Suddenly, music, a man climbs aboard from their ship Cerberus. Meanwhile, Maura notices something below. A strange green and golden beetle is crawling there. Seeing it triggers blurry old memories in Maura's mind, and unknowingly, she begins following the beetle music. The beetle leads her to a locked cabinet whose door is jammed shut with an iron rod. Maura is surprised. Then loud knocking music sounds come from inside. Hearing this terrifies everyone. Nobody knows what is trapped inside. Most people step back, but Maura gathers courage and moves forward. She looks toward the captain, music, who is holding a gun, signaling that if something dangerous comes out, he should, music, shoot it. Then she bravely opens the door. But what they see inside shocks everyone. There is no horrifying creature, but instead a perfectly clean little boy standing there silently. He quietly walks out and stops directly in front of Maura. Then he takes out a strange black triangular pyramid from his pocket and gives it to her. Everything is so strange and mysterious that nobody understands anything. Who exactly is this boy? Maura tries speaking to him, but music. He says nothing, as if mute. Being a doctor, Maura moves forward to examine his music mind. While examining him, she suddenly notices a strange mark behind his neck. The mark looks exactly like something she has seen before. Meanwhile, when the captain returns to his ship, he receives another terrifying piece of news. All the ship's music compasses have suddenly stopped working overnight. He checks his own compass, but it too completely fails to show direction. Looking at such a huge iron ship weighing around 45,000 tons, many questions begin rising in the captain's mind. On the other hand, when Maura returns to her room, she sees an unfamiliar man standing near the door. The man says he just came because he heard strange sounds coming from inside. Then he introduces himself as Daniel and says he lives in the next room. Looking at him makes Maura feel strange, music, as though she already knows him but cannot remember. Daniel leaves without saying much more. But once inside his room, he takes out a photograph, and in that photo is clearly music, Maura herself. Elsewhere, ever since returning from the Prometheus, the captain has become restless. The piece of cloth he found there actually belonged to his dead daughter. Now he even begins hearing his daughter's voice echoing through the ship's corridors. He cannot understand what is happening. Then suddenly, far away, music, he sees a little girl, and upon closer inspection, he is shocked. It is his own daughter. The captain immediately, music, runs after her, but in an instant, she disappears. Is this merely his imagination? Then a nearby door opens on its own, and from inside comes the sound of his daughter, music, singing. Without thinking, the captain walks inside and suddenly finds himself in his old home, the same house where years earlier his wife and children died in a fire. The captain knows it may all be an illusion, but he still cannot stop his tears. He hugs his older daughter, but the next moment flames. Music spread everywhere around them. Sometime later, when he regains consciousness, everything has burned into ruins. At that moment, he sees the green beetle again. Slowly, he follows it. The beetle crawls into a fireplace, music, and when it emerges on the other side, the captain finds himself back inside the ship's room. Now the question is, was what just happened real or merely a dream? And where did this strange secret passage come from? Meanwhile, a little girl playing with her toy also notices the green beetle. She bends down to look at it closely, but the beetle suddenly runs away. Without thinking, the girl chases after it and follows it all the way to the ship's deck. Suddenly, a man appears before her. He bends down and picks up the beetle in his hand. Sometime later, the captain gathers everyone again. This time, he makes a major decision. He will return to England, taking the Prometheus along with them. As soon as he says this, everyone begins loudly protesting, but the captain ignores them. He desperately wants to know what really happened to that ship. Then the Cerberus starts towing the Prometheus back. Suddenly, the people on board notice a little girl lying unconscious on the deck, as though her life is in danger. Seeing this, the captain looks toward the Prometheus. Is some unseen force warning him? When the doctor examines the girl, music, surprisingly, there are no injuries on her body. No marks, no scratches. Even her music bones are completely fine. After examination, it becomes clear she was not poisoned and had been perfectly healthy just days earlier. Mora also says the girl had been completely fine recently. So, how did she suddenly die? The captain tells his men not to reveal this news yet. At the same moment, the ship suddenly slows down. When everyone goes to the deck, they see thick fog surrounding them everywhere. On top of that, the compasses are no longer working. Now they are completely lost. Strange incidents keep happening one after another. The captain calls Mora into his cabin because he wants to ask her something important. But as soon as they enter, some people standing outside begin questioning the captain's decisions. They believe his stubbornness is what trapped them in this disaster. Inside the cabin, the captain shows Mara the piece of cloth and explains that it belonged to his daughter's clothing. He says the design was handmade by his wife, but the shocking thing is that his wife and children died in a house fire 2 years ago. So how did this cloth end up on that ship? The captain also says he has recently been seeing things that do not actually exist. Everything feels bizarre and impossible to understand. After hearing him, Mora says perhaps all this is due to mental pressure, hallucinations. But to convince her, the captain removes a cover beneath the bed, music, and reveals a secret passage there. He says he knows every corner of the ship, and such a passage never existed before. This makes him suspect it may all be part of some scheme by the shipping company. Perhaps the Prometheus discovered something because of which all this happened. Now the captain wants to find the ship's logbook because maybe all the answers are hidden there. Mora agrees to accompany him. Both board a small boat and head toward the Prometheus again, unaware of what is happening behind them. Back on the ship, some of the captain's men are secretly plotting. The second officer, whom everyone calls the bearded man, refuses to obey the captain's orders. He goes down to the poor passengers section and searches for the pregnant woman. In reality, the girl who died was his own sister, Music. Now his motive becomes clear. Since nobody wants to return and the captain keeps imposing his own will, he thinks if he can gather the other passengers on his side, he can strip the captain of his authority, Music. Gradually, anger among the people starts growing. Meanwhile, aboard the Prometheus, the captain and Mora notice a strange machine near the boiler. This machine is used to measure steam pressure and send signals, but the captain says this machine, Music, never worked on his ship. This raises suspicion that perhaps the company installed it for some other purpose. Is it connected to the vanished passengers? Then Mora stares at the boiler thoughtfully and tries music, opening it to look inside. The captain asks if she thinks someone burned bodies in there. Mora replies that if they find tiny teeth or bone fragments inside, the truth might be revealed. They begin searching inside, and then the captain finds a book there. When he pulls it out, it turns out to be the passenger list music of the Prometheus. But as soon as he sees one particular name, he is completely shocked. He immediately hides the book so Mora will not discover it. Seeing the expression on his face, music, Mora asks if he found something, but the captain lies and says they should return now. On the other side, the bearded officer discovers 3 more corpses in the ship's corridor. Ever since the captain decided to return, people have been dying one after another, and surprisingly, every death is exactly like the little girl's. No external injuries at all. Now he becomes convinced the captain has brought something dangerous aboard. He immediately goes to the chief officer and says there is no more time. The chief officer must take command of the ship. He also says the Prometheus should be sunk. But the chief officer hesitates and says he will wait for the captain's return. Now the bearded man trusts no one else. He decides to act on his own. The bearded officer starts provoking the lower-class passengers, urging them to rise against the captain. They were already against returning anyway. On top of that, the continuous deaths had filled everyone with rage. Soon everyone joins his side, and now a mutiny is about to erupt aboard the ship. Meanwhile, the captain knows nothing of all this. He is once again studying the passenger list. This time the reason for his shock becomes clear. He sees Mora's name listed among the passengers of the Prometheus. Now the question arises, are Mora's lost memories connected to this ship? At the same time, while Mora gazes absent-mindedly toward the sea music, Daniel approaches her. He tells her that a mutiny has begun on the ship and she should immediately return to her room, otherwise she too could be in danger. At that very moment, the bearded officer and his men, music, angrily march toward the captain, but they say nothing to Mora and she quickly runs toward her room. Music. She fears that if anything happens to the captain, the little boy hidden in her room may also be in danger. Within moments, the mutineers storm the captain's cabin and capture anyone who does not support them. Even the chief officer cannot stop them. The captain barely understands what is happening, and before he realizes it, music, the entire ship falls under their control. But is everything truly in their hands now? Meanwhile, Daniel takes out a strange device and changes some settings on it. As soon as he does this, the machines inside the distant Prometheus begin operating on their own, and suddenly the massive 45,000-ton ship disappears into thin air. The most shocking thing is that nobody aboard the Cerberus even notices it. Elsewhere, under the bearded officer's leadership, the mutineers imprison the captain. But despite this, the mysterious deaths aboard the ship do not stop. People continue dying one by one, and every death is identical, without any external injuries. Then suddenly people discover that the Prometheus has vanished. Everyone is stunned. But then someone checks the compass and reveals another shocking possibility. Perhaps music. It was not the Prometheus that disappeared. Perhaps their own ship, the Cerberus, disappeared instead. Because the ship's direction has changed, and it has somehow returned to the exact place from which they began their journey 3 days earlier. That means they have suddenly traveled backward in time. Will everything now, music, repeat itself again? The bearded officer immediately makes a decision. He changes course and heads toward New York at full speed. Now he is the highest authority on the ship, and everyone must obey him. But the mysterious deaths have terrified everyone. Some people question the chief officer about what exactly is happening. Then he reveals the truth. The captain brought a small boy from the Prometheus, and ever since his arrival, these deaths have begun. Some people become convinced the boy is some demonic force and decide to find and kill him. Soon people storm into first class, searching everywhere for the boy. The whole ship descends into chaos. Meanwhile, the captain and the priest Ramiro, who still supports him, open a ventilation shaft and attempt to escape. They crawl through the narrow passage and emerge outside. The captain finds a hammer nearby and asks the priest to break his handcuffs. Just as the priest is about to do it, a man and a woman arrive there. The man says he will help them and pulls out an iron nail from his pocket. He steps forward and wedges the nail into the joint of the handcuffs.